So I said to him in my terrible accent, "Buenos dias." And he's like, "Yeah, man, that means good morning." I totally understood that. When I first got into learning Spanish, I had initially thought, gosh, this is going to be terrible. I'm going to hate my first Spanish class. Hola, bienvenidos al canal. Mucho gusto. I'm Nate, and I am a Spanish teacher, and I learned Spanish 9 years ago in high school. And today I just want to make a really casual video between you and I talking about what I wish I knew before learning Spanish. As you can see, I don't have any of my fancy lights on. Like I said, I just want this to be a super casual conversation between you and I. All of these things where I'm stuttering or messing up, I'm going to try to keep in and just try to keep this a long format, unedited video, a casual conversation between you and I. Let me just give you a brief backstory of how I learned Spanish, and then I just kind of wanted to share some tips with you to hopefully motivate you and make you feel more confident and comfortable about learning the Spanish language. So I started learning Spanish 9 years ago in high school in Southern California, and when I first got into learning Spanish, I had initially thought, gosh, this is going to be terrible. I'm going to hate my first Spanish class. So I was pleasantly surprised at the end of my first Spanish class when I was kind of thinking to myself, gosh, this is cool. Like, I like this. I found it so bizarre that I could make all these new and different sounds, and new and different people could now understand me. Being from Southern California, we have a lot of native Spanish speakers living there. And so I had some friends who spoke Spanish. So I went up to my good buddy Luis and I said, "Hey Luis, I just took this first Spanish class. I actually kind of liked it. Would you mind if I spoke to you in Spanish?" He said, "Yeah, sure, man, go for it. No big deal." So I said to him in my terrible accent, "Buenos dias." And he's like, "Yeah, man, that means good morning." I totally understood that. And from that moment on, I was hooked. I thought, wow, this is weird. And I quickly started to realize that when I was speaking Spanish with people in my terrible, horrible Spanish, that people started to change and they started to be much more open to me. There's a great language learning quote that I absolutely love. I've shared it here on the channel. It's from Nelson Mandela, and he says, "If you speak to a man in his second language, you're speaking to his mind. But if you speak to a man in his first language, you're speaking to his heart." I absolutely love that, and I totally agree. So anyhow, I started learning Spanish, and now when we look back 9 years from when I first started, it's crazy to think where my life is now. So I currently live in Mexico City. I've lived here for about 7 months at the time of this recording. My girlfriend is Mexican, native Spanish speaker. She also lives here in Mexico City. My business is all about Spanish, making these videos, teaching on my website, SpanishWithNate.com. And my whole world has completely changed. I lived in Spain for 3 months. I've traveled all throughout Mexico. I plan to hopefully go to Argentina and maybe other countries in the Americas next year. So my life has just absolutely unimaginably changed, all because of learning Spanish. Okay, so let's talk about method. And this is one thing that I wish I knew more about when first learning. Actually, in a weird way, it was kind of a blessing in disguise that I didn't really have a certain method when it came to learning Spanish. The reality is I have so many students come to me and they say, "Nate, I'm learning Spanish, but I want to learn faster and I can't understand people. And I just want to get better way quicker, but I'm really struggling. And I think I'm lacking the right method. What's the secret? What's the right method?" And I always tell students, look, I don't have a fancy, fantastic, sexy secret for you to learn Spanish faster. Well, I do have some tips, but there's no one specific method. The only method is to be consistent and put in the time. That's really all there is to it. Now, I know you might be thinking, yeah, but Nate, there's definitely certain things you can do that will be more effective, based off of the time and everything you're putting in. But the reality is different methods work better for different people. So if you're more of an auditory person, maybe mostly listening to Spanish is going to do the trick for you. Or if you're more of a visual learner, maybe studying out of a book or course is going to be the best for you. But the reality is there is no one size fits all. But the one size fits all method is simply being consistent and putting in the work. This is a kind of interesting thing. So I'm a big fan of playing chess. I love to play chess in my free time, and maybe every day I'll play a couple games when I have the time. But recently I said to my roommate, I said, "Hey dude, why don't you play some chess with me? Like, I feel like it'd be kind of fun." So he's kind of gotten hooked and he's been playing a lot of chess games and getting good very quickly. And I was thinking about that when it comes to learning Spanish, or frankly, learning anything that is slightly difficult. And what I realized is that the reason my roommate is getting good at playing chess and getting better is simply because he's putting in the time and he's doing the thing. So for us, when it comes to learning Spanish, it really comes down to doing the thing and doing it consistently. And the more you do it, the better you're going to get and the faster you're going to progress. So when it comes to a perfect method, please don't try to find that perfect method because you're just going to get analysis paralysis. You're going to get stuck and you're going to say, gosh, this is all so confusing and whatever, I'm discouraged, I'm gonna give up. The other day, I was talking to my buddy Judd about a diet he had just done. He said, I did this diet for a month and it was good and I've learned a lot, but what I've realized is that it's not sustainable. And that's a really important thing to also put into practice when it comes to learning Spanish. What is going to be sustainable for you? What are you going to be able to do consistently? I always tell my students, I would much rather you study for 5 minutes a day for the rest of your life than, 2 hours a day for a couple weeks and you get burnt out and you never pick it up again. This is really fascinating, but a few years ago, I was talking to the CEO of LingoPie, which is a company where you can watch TV and learn a language through watching TV. And he said to me something absolutely fascinating. I'll never forget it. He said, did you know that the dropout rate for learning a language is bigger than the dropout rate for people who go to the gym? Think about it. That's pretty crazy. I just want to make this video to motivate you, to inspire you, to remind you that, hey, it's okay to go slow. I mean, gosh, let me be honest. I've been learning Chinese for, since 2019, so about 4 years now at the time of this recording. But really, my Chinese learning, especially as of late, has been very slow, very, very slow. However, I still have the long-term goal of being able to speak conversational Chinese. When it comes to learning Spanish, don't give up, okay? Please just learn a little bit at a time and try not to give up. Having a community is hugely beneficial when it comes to, frankly, doing anything that's difficult, right? You go to the gym and you have a gym buddy. Anytime that you can kind of involve other people in your own journey, so in this case, learning Spanish, that's going to massively motivate you and it's going to help you progress. Maybe not faster, maybe, but the best thing is that it's going to keep you consistent and that it's going to keep you going instead of giving up. I've talked about it many times before on the channel, but if you go on my website, we have an incredible online Discord community. And I had this student, one of my good friends now, Jackson, say to me, Nate, it's crazy. A year ago, I had filmed you and I having a conversation here in the Discord, and now look at where my Spanish is. And his Spanish has been absolutely transformed. And he said, one of the biggest reasons that it is where it is today is because of this community. Think about that. That's amazing. Think about myself, for example. I was so fortunate to have grown up in Southern California where we have lots of native Spanish speakers. So for me, it was very, very easy to kind of find that community and find people to practice speaking with. Now, another thing I kind of wish I knew before learning the language was, just how much it was going to change my life. If you had said to me 9 years ago, hey, Nate, just so you know, from now, you're going to be living in Mexico. Your girlfriend's going to be Mexican. She's going to be a native Spanish speaker. Your business is going to be all in Spanish and you're going to have traveled the world and met so many amazing Spanish speakers and, made friends with people, have all these crazy experiences. I would have never believed you. If you are just starting to learn Spanish, or maybe you've been at it for a while, just understand and try not to forget, learning Spanish will change your life in ways that you cannot even imagine. I remember in high school one day, I was walking with one of my buddies and he said, Nate, it's cool that you're learning Spanish and all, but I just don't really see the value in it. Like, how is that going to help you with your career? Yeah, maybe if you become a translator or something like that, but I just don't see how useful that really could be. And boy, was he wrong. I love my friend, I really do, but he was very wrong. Okay, so Spanish or learning whatever language you would like to learn can absolutely change your life in ways that you cannot imagine. So please, 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 I'm begging you, starting today after watching this video, try and figure out a sustainable routine for yourself so that you can learn Spanish. Another quick thing I'd like to share is a big mistake that many learners make when learning a language is they don't speak enough, okay? Please, please, please. Speaking is one of the fastest ways to improve your Spanish, but it's also one of the best ways to keep you motivated and excited about learning. I always tell students, hey, if there's no one in your community who speaks the language, check out free apps like Tandem or Hello Talk. Those are absolutely fantastic. Like I said, go on Discord, find communities on there, or on Facebook, Reddit, who knows? Any way that you can find that community so that you can speak with people, that's really what's going to take your Spanish to the next level. Just like I shared with the chess example and my roommate, he's getting much better and very quickly because he's doing the thing. When it comes to Spanish, the reason that you're learning Spanish is so that you can speak the language, not just kind of sit behind your phone or your grammar book or whatever and kind of hide and be nervous and unconfident. Don't worry, it's super normal to be nervous and unconfident when you first start out. Gosh, I felt like I was still nervous speaking to people, 5 years into my journey, and I was going at it. I was having fun. I was speaking Spanish all the time. It's totally normal. Don't be discouraged. But anyways, I don't want to ramble on. I don't want to bore you. I just want this to be a motivator for you and a reminder that it's okay. I would much rather you go slow than fast and give up. And I hope that I can be an example to you that, wow, I can actually do this. I can learn this language. I can listen to beautiful new music in Spanish, meet beautiful new people, and have these incredible experiences, travel the world. Trust me, you will never, ever regret learning Spanish. You will only regret not learning Spanish. So, muchas gracias por ver este video. Si tú quieres aprender español conmigo, tú puedes en mi página web, se llama SpanishWithNate.com. Ahí te puedo conocer, puedes unirte a nuestra comunidad de Discord, es súper genial, entonces ahí lo puedes checar en SpanishWithNate.com. Otra vez, muchas gracias por ver este video, espero que tengas muy buen día y nos vemos en el próximo video. Adiós. If you want to become conversationally fluent in Spanish as fast as possible, check out the Fluent Spanish Speaker Academy. Here's what some of our current members have to say. Caden, an NYU graduate, says, "You won't find a more committed teacher than Nate. His lessons provide students with a comprehensive set of vocabulary and skills to use long after you've completed the course. We stand behind our program with a 30-day full refund policy. If you're not happy within 30 days, we'll give you your money back, no questions asked."